Great job. Every time. She kills it. So, something's to be said for us that are here. We obviously don't get the benefit of fall break vacations. Over half our church is on vacation. What is wrong with us? Maybe, especially for some of you that are now watching by live stream, you get to hear this. Maybe we just view being together as vacation. What's wrong with you? Yeah, that's exactly why. Man, a lot was happening inside of my heart during worship. To the point that right before I was coming up here, I was like, no, I gotta kind of figure out where I want to go with this. I know what I would like to share with you all, or at least I know what I wrote about. But during worship, there was a lot of stirring in my heart. We are, and let me see if I can put some language to this. I'm not afraid of talking about things that maybe for your mind it'll go over, as long as it'll strike your heart. And what I believe is, if we're not careful, we've made approaches to God hit us in our head, and then we hope it impacts our heart. But God is not of the flesh. He's a spirit, right? So the things of the Lord are supposed to come alive on the inside of our heart and then go to our head. It's supposed to be, there's things that move us and then we find out. There's things that maybe you experience with the Lord. I don't know if you've ever had this, but if you haven't, I hope that you can start having these intimate moments with the Lord where there's things that I felt the Lord begin to teach me in my heart, and then I found it in the Word. And it was like, okay, yeah, that was God. That's not just crazy me. That is the heart to the head, not the head to the heart. And so what I want to do in some of this is just to share with you guys maybe just some of what is stirring in me. I had a moment with Johan and Drake, which some of you guys know them, some of you don't, but they became family with us out of the Carolinas. We was, for over 10 years, we were going to the Carolinas and having encounters with the Lord that were so significant. My kids were raised in it. And tonight, some of these songs were from it. And it stirs remembrance. And here's the thing I told both of them. We move on, but God doesn't. He doesn't move on. If there's been any specific, significant moment between you and Him, He doesn't move on. You guys had special moments where you soaked the carpet with your tears. You were in each other's homes and bedrooms, and the carryover of experiences you had carried over. And you know what it means to wake up in the middle of the night and feeling like you did while you were in service. Because even as you went to sleep, He didn't. And I feel there's a sweet wind on this family because the sons of the Carolinas are here. Johan, I call you that because even though that isn't where you were born, that's where something significant, eternal part of you was born. and nothing is lost. You shine from that. So it was interesting as I was having that and I was praying with them, all of a sudden I felt like I was, I guess I could talk to you about how to be nice to people or something like that. I guess we've taken a Bible that is full of some like outlandish stuff and tried to, in America, make it normal. Well, guys, it all starts with like a guy died and then he came back to life. And then you work your way back and it's just all a lot. So don't try and over-normalize it. Maybe that's why we don't have enough supernatural happening, because we have tried to make it palatable to a world that actually needs something supernatural. But as I was with them, I felt like I went in the spirit like to this time in 1801, where in Cane Ridge, Kentucky, which is in Paris, Kentucky, which we'll be in the region of, I'll be this week, a revival broke out between three pastors, a Methodist, a Baptist, and a Presbyterian. Probably not the three you thought was going to turn into what it turned into. Was just some of the most radical experiences people had with the Lord, to the point that word got out. And now, mind you, at this point, in 1801, only 120,000 people lived in the entire state of Kentucky. 20,000 showed up to these services. No advertisement. It was word of mouth. And it went on and on and on and on. They were camping out and living on the property. The building where those meetings started is still there, with a building that has been built around it to protect it. But I turned to Aaron and I told him, I said, man, I just feel, as I was having this moment with them, and I felt the Lord reminding us of that and what he did in Cane Ridge. I just felt the Lord remind me, Brad, people move on, I don't. And I'm just looking for someone that'll open the door to let me celebrate these moments again. Just give my heart rest. Because he remembers. And how many of you have significant things that you remember in your life? Birthdays, anniversaries. What do those moments mean when you have no one to celebrate them with? Imagine the heart of God that is so marked by experiences he's had with men and women, that longs to celebrate. So why do I highlight these things for you? The reason is because the Father wants to have those moments with you. He doesn't want to fix you. He wants to reveal you. He doesn't want to change you. You're the only one, in fact, that's convinced you're broken. But he doesn't make anything that's broken. He makes whole things. He doesn't make broken things. He formed you. He didn't just speak you, he formed you. And he knows you. He knows the real you. Before you were hurt, before you were disappointed, before you had experience that knocked you off, and that you've had a hard time coming out of, before any of those rejections, before any of those disappointments, he formed you first. And because he formed you first, there's the law of the first mentions. That means whoever came first holds the ultimate authority. We teach that, which is why it's important for parents. Talk to your kids about things like sexuality and different things like that. Don't let YouTube go first. Don't let friends at school go first. You go first, because whoever goes first holds the authority. That's the truth with you and Abba. He went first. Before anyone was ever illegitimately touched, they were first touched by love, because he formed you. So he went first. Before anyone hurt you with their hands, he healed you with his hands. He formed you. He went first. First always has the opportunity to overthrow everything that comes after. So my prayer over every single one of you is that truth would rise, and that the truth would make you free. So, if the Bible's right, which I believe it is, and I would guess you do too, or this wouldn't be the thing you'd be wanting to do on a Sunday night. If the Bible's true, and it says, if you could just know the truth, you would be free. Really? No. I need to get disciplined. I need to get mad at my sin enough. I actually need to pray more. I should have more desire. I should do better. I should be better. I should all of these. No. Wrong. What I shouldn't pray? I didn't say that. I shouldn't desire the things. I did not say that. I shouldn't live right. I did not say that. Here's what I do say. That is a byproduct of you finding out who you really are. Because the real you shines really bright. The real you changes atmospheres. The real you is radiating the goodness and the love of God. And all of those things will end up being a byproduct of you knowing who you really are. And you can try with all of your effort and all of your might to get you into fixed place. But it doesn't work. If you look at the Old Testament, the entire Old Testament is a picture of proving, okay, you want rules that make you right? Here, how about I give you 10, and you trying to figure out how to do the 10, turn it into 400, 500, 600, which is what happened. We go from don't murder to don't eat shellfish. Like this thing just keeps on expanding because you're still trying to figure out how to do it on your own. And you're still trying to figure out if I could be the more disciplined one. Why? Because we started eating from a tree that told us what is good and what is evil. And at the moment we started eating that fruit, we started trying to be like God on our own. And when you keep trying and you feel like you don't match up and you don't add up, and then you get condemned, and then you feel disappointed, then you feel dismayed, and then you feel hopeless, then you know you are not finding the truth. Because he said, there is therefore no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And guess what? If any of us could do this under our own discipline, our own merits, and our own striving, then we would have room to be proud. But pride comes before a fall. None of us got here because we got it all figured out. None of us got here because we got ourselves fixed. None of us. None of us. I hate it because I grew up in an era where I watched people be like, man, I know I'm not going to even worship right now because if I did, I'd be a hypocrite. Man, I can't even come to church because I'll be a hypocrite. I can't, you know what? If your worship is about you, you've missed it altogether. I don't worship me. Guys, the demons realize who he is. The Father wants to reveal to you your value. If you know your value, things will begin to change. Me understanding my value impacts what I do and how I do it. Me knowing my value has saved me more times than I can even tell you. I have to know how he sees me. And I'm going to tell you this. I don't know that you can know how he sees you unless you crawl up in his lap on your worst day and watch what he does. That has defined my theology. There's been times when God would just move and minister and touch my life, and I knew it was him. That could not have happened. But I'm sitting there saying, hold on. I thought that there had to be this, like I wasn't fasting. I didn't pray enough. I feel like I was the most off I've ever been in my life, maybe more off than I was before I ever came to Jesus. Maybe y'all don't know that journey. I've known it. Pause. I've known that journey. I've known the journey of feeling like I was worse sometimes on the other side of the cross than I felt like I was on this side of the cross. How's that happen? And the crazy thing for me is from the time I was saved, I was in ministry. So I definitely shouldn't be thinking that, dealing with that. But I see his hand on my life, and his hand wasn't more on my life when I had it together than it was when I didn't. And I had to reconcile that. I had to figure that out. Because that doesn't add up. I'm supposed to get what I deserve. And the gospel is, you don't get what you deserve. And that's not just you don't get hell. It's you get that. You get that. You get that. You get that. Daniel, who y'all know is so sweet, so precious, and means so much to this family. He'll be in here any morning you want to come by. You can see him. You'll have to get here at 4:30 a.m. So I doubt you'll come see him. But he came up to me and he said, because one time I like vocalized that I had had a private struggle years ago after Josie went through all of that she did health-wise, like that it was my fault. Anybody ever dealt with, oh, that all happened and it was because I did this? And I was having that repetitive barking in my ear. Had you not X, Y, and Z, that wouldn't happen. You opened the door for your child. And he walked up to me and he said, I was in prayer, which I immediately believed him because 4:30 he's here. And he said, now ask the Lord about your concern and your struggle. He said, and the Lord responded to me. And he said, you tell him that the Father, Son, and the Spirit held a meeting before Josie was to come into the earth and said, where can we trust her with and to who? And the unanimous decision of the Father, Son, and Spirit was Brad and Sarah Beth. Because I don't have it all together. That shouldn't be the decision of the perichoresis. The Godhead, the Father, Son, and Spirit. How did I even come up in the meeting? But I'm going to tell you, if you think agreeing with that is pride, then you've missed it. And this is where you'll die, actually. You think you would die and you're losing your sin nature. That isn't where you die. You die when you say, that's true. And tears roll down your face. You say, it's true. I am trustworthy. Because I am made in your image. And I no longer eat the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil to try and be like you. I am who you say I am. I am the dearly loved of the Father. What do I do at my lowest point? I am not the sum of my works. And religion has been so afraid that if you said this, then people would live any old way. And unfortunately, for years, the church has wore their suits to cover up their flaws. Because that crap was already in there anyways. So it didn't matter how hard we preached against sin and preached against this and preached, like it was still going on, y'all. I am who you say I am. I'm not the sum of my works. I'm the sum of yours. I am who you say I am. I've talked about this and I've used this example a number of times about how you find the value of something. Now, there are appraisers for a number of things, right? There's people that, Zeb is an appraiser of property, so you can appraise property and land, right? You could appraise just land by itself as well. But there's other people that do commercial properties. They appraise commercial properties. There's others that appraise things, like they can appraise a ring or a jewelry, or they can appraise a tractor, or they can appraise anything of significant value to be the one that defines for you what it's worth. ultimately what it'll come down to is, if you walked up to Zeb, which you would probably need to give him $500 because that would be right to ask his opinion, because that's what he gets paid for, his opinion. It's an interesting thing. What's your opinion? $500. I can hear Zeb right now, $650, but yeah, carry on. But ultimately, here's what will happen. If you said, what is my house worth? Well, I live in Rhineyville, Kentucky. And so ultimately, what's going to happen is if I ask him, then he's going to want to know square footage of my house, what age is it, what do you have, basically the type of features, what kind of, things like that. But he could make a rough ballpark by knowing square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, and what size of the land, and that kind of thing. And then if he was able to quickly pull up things that have been sold recently that are in proximity of my home that would basically compare to it, he's going to find out what has it sold for. And people in his job will constantly have people telling him he is wrong on his evaluation of their stuff. Because you can scream all you want. My house is worth $500,000. I'm sorry, but there's 3 houses just like yours. Someone paid $350,000 for. So your house is worth what the market says your house is worth. Now, if you'll sit around for a little while, it might go up. You might strike while the iron's hot. But the determination of what something's worth is all tied to what someone would pay for it. And the parable of the man that went into a borrowed field, and while he was working in that field, found a treasure and said, that treasure is worth it, went back and sold all that he had so that he could not just buy the treasure, but that he could buy the entire field. Because he knew inside of that field there may take a little digging, but it's worth what you're going to find on the inside. Was the picture of him paying the ultimate price for you. The field is always imagery of the world. He said, look unto the fields, they are white unto harvest. It is always imagery of the world. So for God so loved the world, he gave his biggest check for the whosoever in the middle of the field. So you can try and listen to the lie of what you're not worth. But God said, empty my account. And there is no greater price he could pay than to say, I am giving of myself to come into humanity. That's who you are. This ministry is built on the 4 pillars of what Sarah Beth talked about. It's funny, she used Acts 2:42 through 47, which Craig is probably laughing at, as he knew the verses I gave him is Acts 2:42 through 47. No, we hadn't talked about that. That's what you get. We're in harmony. E-harmony. Anywho, Acts 2:42. Go to that again. But I'm going to read that from the ESV real quick. And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, to the breaking of the bread and prayers. And awe came over every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. I want you to see that. It is vital that the kingdom life we're living should leave us in awe. I think because we haven't believed how big a deal it is, how he loves us beyond our earnings or doings, it's not leaving us in awe. Like you ought to be uncomfortable with how much he loves you. Like that week, last week, when Breen gave me that watch, I don't know if you understand, but that was his 40th birthday gift from the entire church that he works at, came together, and all of them pitched in to buy him that watch. I am really uncomfortable with that gift. Gifts from God look like that. I was thinking about this when Sarah Beth was talking about all of our extras and how many times do we give, like even when we're givers, how many times do we give like the guy that's like, yeah, I mean, my kids don't even ride that bike anymore. I don't even need that. That's an extra bike. I'm going to bless you with this. And it's true, right? We do have things that we don't need that could absolutely be a blessing to someone else. But I'm telling you this, you know you've moved into the kingdom when your gift rocks your heart, and it absolutely rocks the heart of the person you give it to. Because now you're starting to look like your Father. Verse 44, and all who believed were together, say together, and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all that had any need. And day by day attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes. I want you to underline that. They received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved. This is how we ensure that our culture that we have been able to establish here remains and continues to flourish. What we're bringing to the table, what this family has to offer, is inevitably needed by hurting, lost, and broken people. Because of that, our number is being and is going to continue to be added to. How do we ensure that as God adds new people to this kingdom table, that we never lose the DNA of who we are? We all would say we have drank the cup of the fruit of us living by these four principles. These principles of, we honor the communion. From the time we talked about this and started living it and saying, dig into it, allow the body and the blood to be an announcement over you of his love for you and what it represents, it has changed our culture. From the time that we started kingdom corporate prayer and said, we're going to come in here in the mornings, and if it's 2, if it's 10, whatever, we're going to meet every Tuesday night, and we're going to have this church open every morning, regardless. It has shifted our entire culture. From the time we committed to fellowship and doing family and doing life together, opening up our own tables and inviting people in and having a table back there where once a month we eat together. We are building culture in this, and it has changed our family. And the doctrine, things like I just said, for many, they've never heard, they didn't know it, and because those truths are being told to you and told to you and told to you, you're starting to be convinced of it, and it's changing you. Since we've started in these principles, you've seen the difference, you've felt the impact, you've lived in it, you've breathed it. It's been tangible to you. And here's what I feel is the call for the insurance that that culture never goes away. You are not going to rely on this organization to ensure that those 4 pillars are lived out in your own life. Let it be in your home, because we're the sum of our parts. So if you want to flourish, I believe that this principle that we see from the early church is an answer for how your home comes alive. Open up your table for fellowship. Do you have a table? Invite others to your table. I don't know what I have to offer. You don't need to offer anything but bread and the wine. I'm not worthy of that. Well, guess what? When it sits in the table, we all are just as worthy, and we can look at it and all feel unworthy. But you know what? That's why we don't criticize one another. That's why we don't backstab. That's why we don't try and gossip on one another. That's why if we even slightly start to talk, and it's any old way, and I do mean any old way, we feel jerked back. Like, that isn't us. It's kind of like when you haven't eaten fast food in 5 years and then you go eat that stuff. You're like, how did I ever eat it and not die? Okay, Brian, you ain't feeling that. You subconsciously shook your head no. Like I said it and you went, the abundance of the heart. It's the truth. When you don't drink water, guess what you don't crave? When you start to drink it, guess what you want? It's the truth. This thing announces the truth over us, what we put in the table. You can put that pillar there. Here's what we want to do. We don't want to fellowship around a ball game. Doesn't mean we don't get together and watch the ball game. But our union is not created because we all like the same team, the same sport. We're the same age. We're all the couples with little kids get together and all the. No. Our commonality is our common union. Communion. This is what unites us. So here's what I call you to. I call you to fellowship and put him in the room. Just put him in the room. Because the other verse I had for you out of Matthew, what does it say? Right? I'll let him pull that up because I just threw that out there. But what does it tell us? This is why we want to acknowledge him in the room. We're going to go, truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Next verse. Again, I say to you, if 2 of you agree on earth about anything they ask, it'll be done for them by the Father who is in heaven. And then verse 20. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am among them. So just realize we've gathered, and we've gathered not because we like the same things, we're from the same background, we're all in the army, we're all in the this or that or whatever. We've gathered because of his name, and he's here. The Breslins have done it. And they'll have communion there. Jared and Jillian was walk across the street to get together just for Jared's birthday. And before we did anything, we took communion together. And it's just the acknowledgement that if it wasn't for him, we don't even have each other. We don't even get to do this together if he hadn't brought us together by what he did. In prayer. Guys, can I give you a corporate prayer principle for your home? Sarah Beth did this with me, and it shifted everything in my life. Have you ever felt like overwhelmed? And you call and you talk to your significant other, and it's like a circular conversation. Like, man, this is what it is, and 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 this. And you feel just as cruddy at the end of an hour and a half of it, or worse than you did at the beginning. And you gave a million reasons validating what is awful about this situation and this person and this thing and then this and then this. And tell me one time when that end of that, you evaluating the nastiness, the awfulness of this thing that's out of your control but is impacting your world. And at the end of it, you felt, now I feel better. I'm glad I got that out. It doesn't happen. Sarah Beth was like, let's pray. You go. I'll go, then you go. Yeah, go ahead. And she did. At the end of it, I said, and God, I give it to you too. I give these people to you. That jerk, I just speak over them, God, that you love them. And all of a sudden, you know what happens? And God, I just see through your eyes. I choose to see through your eyes. I choose to love like you have loved me. I just declare that this situation is shifting. I say that they're going to come alive to who. At the end of that, I do feel better. And guess what? Situations end up changing. Because guess what? Every little weird thing in your world eventually is going to shift anyways. So we can either sit there in the crud, waiting on it to get right, and then we have peace, or we can be the bearers and the carriers of peace and say, I'm going to hit this with the opposite spirit, and I'm going to stand in a different place. I don't look at it like other people look at it. We are not like the world who has no hope. We're different. And at the end of that 3-minute prayer, everything in my life can change. Not because it fixed, but because I changed what I chose to look at. Remember one time me and Audrey were having a conversation. I said, all right, we're going to do what Mama taught me. I'm going to pray, then you're going to pray. That's called corporate prayer. And not the one that always prays. We pray. So I'm going to pray, and then you pray. End of our prayer. What'd you say? Audrey, you said everything changed at the end of that. Well, I thought, man, we could have just skipped the whole conversation then. Corporate prayer in my family has shifted everything. So we want prayer in our homes. We want fellowship in our homes. We want the communion in our homes. And we want teaching in our homes. And quit lying to yourself that you have nothing to give. Share whatever truth you've heard. Yeah, I'll do that. Once I start living right, I'll talk about the truth. You ain't preaching you. You ain't teaching you. You're teaching the truth. And if you hear a truth, tell your kids. Say, hey, I wanted to share this with you, what I heard. That impacted me. Man, I'm waiting on it to come alive on the inside of me. But it is so wrecking me that this is true. I just want to share it with you. Yeah, that's called teaching. And guess what? you ensuring that you're sowing those seeds that are coming into you, that are pulling up all these years of lies out of you. Guess what? They don't have all that lies, so go ahead and share it. While it's working on you, go ahead. That's generational consciousness. That's legacy mentality. It's you're not going to have to come out of what I came out of because I'm going to ensure it, because while God's bringing me out, I'm telling you all about the tricks. You're going to live on my shoulders instead of at the end of your days, you still trying to get to where I am by the end of mine. So we want the pillars in our home. And at the end of the day, guys, of all of the things that we're able to look at Acts and say Acts is a great pinpoint of what we want to look like because that's the first church, at the end of the day, don't forget, we're not trying to get back to Acts. We're trying to get back to the garden. And all that's about is the walk. And here's my call to every single one of you. I know me and Aaron have talked about this. Some of y'all, you'll hear this language and you know it. Some of you don't. And part of what we want to do, we're not going to just want to do, we're doing, is we're going to take our app and we're going to put into it little packages of 10, 15-minute teachings that go along with a broader point. Some of it's going to be just our language. So that when you hear beloved identity, you could click on it and watch a 10-minute video where that's all that we talk about is beloved identity. You can click on something that talks about the walk. What do we mean when we say, let's take the walk? What do we mean when we say generational consciousness? What do we mean when we say, because culture is developed inside of language. There's a reason the Army has its own language. There's a reason that police officers have their own language. There is a reason why any of these things that it is vital they have a united culture. All of them have their own language that creates within them their own identity. I believe that the Lord's given us a language, and we're all going to learn it, and we're all going to know it. But these are type things that we're going to be instilling, and we're going to be giving, and we're going to be putting out there. But one of those things, that walk, guys, that is what we're called to. God would come and meet Adam in the cool of the day, and he'd take the walk. And at the end of the day, when there was a separation between man and God, it wasn't because God got mad at Adam and said, fine, I'm not coming to walk with you anymore. And then eventually Jesus convinced him, okay, fine, I'll let him back in. That is not the gospel. The gospel is, even after they failed, God showed up for the walk and said, where are you, Adam? And here's the deal. When you go home, you could step outside your house, take a 10-minute walk up and down your driveway, and just say, Abba, I'm thankful that you're not done with me, that you don't give up on me, that you're showing me who you really are. And guess what? He'd show up for the walk. Because you can have all the experiences in here, but who you really are gets rooted on the inside of you when you do it out there. So I just ask you to say yes to the walk. Yeah. Can I pray for you? Are you going to say no? Jillian, will you play just to kind of just open up our hearts a little bit? I pray that you would come to the place of tenderness. Tenderness in your posture towards God. Tenderness in your reach. I just pray if there's any area in you that has believed a lie, that thing would just begin to melt away. I pray that you would have a revival of remembrance, that you would begin to remember those moments where God has touched you and ministered to you and been with you, that you would know He loves you. I pray that you would know that you are not the sum of your works. So if you failed 99 times, He'd say, go again. I pray that you would know that He's the God of Hosea, who told Hosea, hey, you're going to be a prophet for me, but if you're going to be a prophet for me, then I'm going to have you go marry the harlot. And then when she cheats on you, I want you to go get her again. And then when she cheats on you again, I want you to go get her again. Why? Because if you're going to be a voice for me, you're going to have to know my heart. And this is the only way you're going to understand me. He doesn't stop coming after us because He loves us. And He knows who we really are. And He has predetermined your value and your worth. You were made in the image and the likeness of God, and that's who you are. And the darkness of this world cannot dim your light. It cannot stuff it out. It cannot stop it. And the truth is coming after your heart. It's coming to awaken you, to reveal to you the real you on the inside of you. So my prayer is that truth would begin to rule and to reign, that you would begin to lean into the tenderness available in the walk, in the cool of the day, you and Him and Him and you. And you would just say yes to it. And if it's 5 minutes walking around the house, if it's a cup of coffee in the morning, watching the sunrise or the sunset, Micah, I don't know what this is, but I just saw you sitting in your police car, and the sun setting, and God visiting you and resolving everything. Because all things that trouble and worry our hearts are not resolved between us and other people. Everything is resolved with us and Him. He is so pleased with you. I just feel this from the heart of the Father. He is so pleased with you. You have no idea the impact you have in the earth. See the sky. I can see the settling and the cool of the day starting. And Abba just come on, family, won't you just let that happen for you? We're family. So guess what? If He does it for one, we can all inherit it because we're in union. Just let that truth just begin to settle over you. That He just settles. He settles. The dust does clear, family. I don't care if the struggle has gone on for 20 years and you're convinced I've got 8 or 9 more for sure that I have to go through. He settles. He settles. He settles. Walk with Him. When it's getting noisy, get back on the path. He'll start to come around the bend. He'll say, you see that tree over there? Think about the garden. Comes around. I planted that with you in mind. And we're over here, no, I need to fix my problems. And God, I'm so broke. What do you think of that sunset over there? No, God, I'm a mess. I'm a wreck. I'm causing all kinds of problems. Did you see that bird? He's just not as convinced that you're as messed up as you are. He just enjoys being with you. So God, I just pray a renewal of those that will walk with God in the cool of the day. Let our hearts be more tender than we've ever been before. And God, let these pillars that we have found to be absolute and true start coming alive in our living rooms. And let us quit disqualifying ourselves from inviting someone to our table, cooking them a meal, and saying, hey, here's a cracker, here's some juice. Let's honor the body. Let's honor the blood. Let's remind one another that this is the hope that we have. In Jesus' name. In Jesus' name. I pray blessing and goodness and grace over every single one of your lives. This week the church will be open 6:30 to 8:30 every day for prayer. Tuesday night, if you haven't been coming, you're missing one of the sweetest times we have as a family. We meet on Tuesday nights at 6:30 for prayer. And it feels a lot like this right here. We're just all over this room, just having a sweet, sweet time with the Lord. It's one of our pillars. It's who we are. God bless you. Love on each other. Have an amazing week. Enjoy your fall break, kids.